Evan, thank you for coming by. Appreciate your time as always. I know you're super busy. Evan Farrell, everybody. Game Changers. We've had conversations over the last, I want to say, probably like a month, 2 months, about this concept, and I didn't tell you before, but like I have kind of like almost like a screening process before like people actually come and sit down with me, just to make sure that like the way that they're working within their industry is actually like for benefiting other people. And you have completely like almost blown my mind in the way that you've taken your culture and what you do and also give back to educating kids. So first of all, congratulations on everything that you've achieved so far.
Thanks so much, man. And yeah, appreciate you having me on here. I think this whole game changer concept is like super cool. So
thank you.
Really appreciate you having me on. And yeah, I'm stoked to see how this goes.
Yeah, no, so like I got put onto you through a friend of mine, Manny's Vanny, this guy that is just like this a crazy ball of energy, and someone that I also see giving back to society with kind of like his passions. And he instantly said, you know, like, you have to meet with a friend of mine, Evan. And I was like, okay, you know, you just never know like who it is. But then when I kind of like grasp your concept, like, you know, you're an artist, super creative, which I wish I was, in that manner.
You are though.
But I can't paint or draw to save my bloody life. But you've managed to figure out a way to not only kind of like chase the dream of what you want to do, which we're going to get into, but also to inspire like young youth and young kids out there, which is, you know, 100% the reason that Game Changers is around anyway. Let's first get into that and kind of, you know, I want to like kind of just ask, you know, when you became like, have you like drawn, have you like been involved in that kind of stuff from like, you know, as far back as you remember, or was it something that kind of came to you later on?
Yeah, no, as far as I can remember, I've been drawing and creating logos and creating apparel. Basically was the first thing I was really into when I was like almost 10. Okay. You know, just ironing on t-shirts, things like that.
That's when it always starts. It always starts like when you start young, it's like you're doing it because like there's something in you that really like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So you start doing that at a young age. Did you ever believe that it could like lead to like a career path though?
You know, not until I was in high school. I always thought that I knew I was good at art and I liked art class, but what I was being taught in art class I couldn't really relate to, and I don't think a lot of the students could either. So I never really thought it could even be a career until later on in my high school.
Because I feel like art class when you're younger is like making clay molds or painting like a piece of like paper and hanging it up on an easel or like, something.
What kid can relate to painting a bowl of plastic fruit? Nobody.
It doesn't excite you. That's for sure. Yeah. But and that's what like I've loved so much about kind of learning more about you is like you understand what will excite kids, you know, and what will give them dreams and kind of like the understanding of we can do this. So was there any kind of support for you, like as a young kid, you know, being artistic, with anyone around you that was like, hey, like follow this dream or like continue to work with this?
Yeah, actually my whole family has always been supportive in the fact that they knew that that's what I was like really good at and that's what I like to do. But I think internally it was kind of like a path that I didn't think was like even a choice because I didn't think that I would be able to make any money doing it. So it was kind of, I had to like find it in myself to kind of push it to the next level in order to take that as a serious career choice. Yeah.
So what did you decide to do instead? Because like I feel like a lot of creatives and a lot of people that, you know, are successful eventually, that they have like kind of almost like a side path of like, all right, let me do something that's going to make me money. Because you one, you got to pay the bills, and two, you have people around you that are like, well, what are you doing with your life? You know? What was your choice in kind of like sidestepping the art side?
Well, I knew that actually just doing like street art was gonna be a failure if I tried to just initially start doing street art. But I also knew that you can make money doing graphic design and you know, creative directions, things like that, like diving into the digital world. So fast forward through high school, I actually was able to get into this art school, Savannah College of Art and Design. I was lucky enough to get a scholarship, and I ended up taking graphic design classes there, and that's when I was really like, okay, I can actually do this. But it was also there where I realized how fucked up the system was, because I had no previous training for like computers or anything like that. And when I was able to finally get into this school, there's all these rich kids that had, you know, all these programs throughout middle school and high school, like Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and that's
they're ahead of you at that
That's
stage.
when I really realized, like, this is kind of fucked up. Like, nobody in the public school system has access to any of these tools that they really need to be able to survive as an artist. And it's only at this level in college where I was first exposed
to it. So what was the difference in like your mentality, like going from high school and not having those resources, and then kind of all of a sudden being thrown into this school and being like, wow, these things are out there, and
it just pissed me
off. No one showed it to you.
It just pissed me off, and I was super intimidated. Like, I don't know if I can do this, because these kids are like so far above me. I had never even used like an Apple computer before I got to that point. So it was very frustrating, and it was kind of like, I remember after the first class, of the first graphic design class I ever had, it was like I was so pissed off. Because I knew that so many kids are getting screwed over. I don't know if the language is.
You can, no. There's bad language out there, right? We know it's there.
But so I just could tell, like, you know, so many kids are getting screwed. There's so many opportunities being lost, and then also I'm like, there's that part of it, but I'm also like, I don't even know if I can make it. I don't know if this is gonna pan out well, because I'm so far behind, you know. But it was something I just decided I had to do, and just pushed forward, and ended up graduating at the top of my class. So
congrats on
that. That was very difficult at the very beginning there.
What made you realize, or even how? Because, you know, like, a lot of young people that are coming out of, you know, situations where they don't have the financial resources, they have big dreams. You know, like, I had a big dream of going to USC and made that happen, but not the normal way. How did you get a scholarship? Like, how did you find out? What really pushed you to do that?
So if I could take it back just a little bit, like when I was in high school, I was painting under bridges and doing these things. Like, I kind of found street art because this kid showed me, you know, like, he had this wall that his parents let him paint in his backyard, and I was like, this is incredible, you can actually do this. And he basically showed me, you know, if you can draw it, you can paint it. And so from that day forward, I was always like painting, going under bridges, drawing my sketchbook. Even though I knew it was kind of illegal, I knew it was something I had to do. And I was like, okay, if I'm gonna actually make it in life, then I have to like pursue this. So I got my grades up enough to actually make it into like one of the shittiest colleges. Anyway, so and then there I took business marketing. And basically just like partied and, you know, like drew to help like get fraternities and sororities like T-shirts and things like that. You
figured your way
through parties. And kind of made my way that way. But I was also taking art classes, which, again, at this school, not, you know, Indiana State, they didn't have very many resources either. So the art classes there were bunk too.
Bunk as well,
But I knew, okay, like, I've got to apply to some kind of like art school or something. I've got to pursue this. This is not the school for me. So even though I was like partying a lot and doing like, trying to pursue like business on the side, like as a plan B, I was like painting and doing oil paintings. Like, I would literally have like a party going down stairs, and I'd be upstairs painting oil while this like rager's going on. And then back to your initial question, I like submitted all this work to this art school, and I was taking like a lot of theater classes. So I kind of got in as like graphic design and performing arts.
See, that's smart though. Deal. That's super smart, because, you know, one, I like to hear about the hustle. Like, one, I like to hear that, like, it ain't easy. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people hear the stories of, like, I got a scholarship, and they just believe, like, oh, the person was just naturally gifted. And someone saw what they did and said, oh, let's give this person a scholarship. It's like, no, like, you worked your ass off in figuring out what would work for you to get to the place that was really going to kind of help you out and give you those opportunities. You touched on a point in just now, talking about your friend and having parents that, like, gave him a wall that he could paint on.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, his parents knew, like, the impact, one, probably for him, and two, like, that had on you, knowing that, like, hey, here's a space, create?
I'm sure they have no idea the impact it had on me, but I think they knew, like, okay, this is what my kid likes to do. Instead of just, you know, letting him run free in the streets, like, we know he will go do this under bridges, but at least let's have a place for him to do it here.
Smart.
So that he's at least not on the streets doing that all the time. And it definitely wasn't a place we painted at a lot, but that was initially where I understood that this is something that I can actually do, you know?
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of how I learned. It was just every day. This kid's name was Patrick.
Yeah.
I would just take my sketchbook and, like, show him the shit I was doing, and he would, like, show me these techniques, and I just was like, that's when art actually became, like, a sport to me. It was like the adrenaline rush.
You look at art as a sport?
It was then, because it was like, you know, basically everything I was doing then was illegal. So I would be, like, coming up with these concepts. I mean, one of the first things I did was take my Super Mario book from the NES, and I was like, I'm just going to make a fucking Mario land, because I don't know, whatever.
Sick.
I don't know how to paint anything, so I'm just going to try this. And I, like, sketched up these things, and then we'd get, you know, bounced out of school because nobody was paying attention anyway. And then, you know, when like, behind this bridge, and we'd just do it up. So
love that. I love that. So you get out of, you know, your college, and you know, you've now been to art school. You've, you know, been afforded the access to, you know, some creative suites and some creative, like, programming. A reason that, you know, I really kind of, like, was drawn to your story when I was hearing it was, you know, there is a point which we're going to get to where a decision is made to really, like, follow the dream. Where do you find yourself, like, outside of college, and kind of really deciding, like, okay, I'm going to take a job that is kind of in my lane, but eventually is not going to be? What kind of happened there?
Okay, so again, when I was in college, I realized that's when I realized how messed up it was for people in high school. And so when I was probably in my first year at Savannah College of Art and Design, I realized, okay, I've got to do something about this. Like, someday, and it wasn't, I'm going to do this isn't the dream yet, but someday I'm going to create a business that helps students that are underprivileged, that don't have access to these tools, because they totally deserve that, you know? And I think I graduated college, ended up moving to New York, and then I finally moved to LA. And I started, you know, still in the digital design world, creating for music festivals and global brands. And it was when I was, when I first moved out here, I realized that it can't just be a business that that's going to help these kids. It's got to be some kind of, like, person or somebody they can look up to. Essentially a character, like, you know, like any kind of influencer. And that's when I decided that it has to be Kidwiseman, which is the character that I created. So I thought so long and hard about that, and that was really the hardest part. Was like, okay, are you really gonna, like, make yourself into this kind of, like, character icon? And that's, like, gonna be what drives your life if you do that. Because if you do it, you have to go 100%.
Exactly. You got to commit to that being, like, part of your personality.
So I created that character, you know, to, like, lead by example, but also show these kids that you can do it your way. You don't have to follow the rules of the system that's put in place in front of you, or that's not there at all. So at
this stage, though, are you doing art full time? Or are you working as well somewhere at, like, as well as doing, you know, your Kidwiseman?
So I do digital creative direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a long time, it was always I'm doing one thing on the side, like graphic design, like
Yeah.
digital, like posters, like everything from, you know, small mobile ads to like
Yeah.
large at-home print stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then doing the street art stuff on the side. But
Yeah.
now they're kind of merging together,
Mm-hmm.
which is great because I can now put all my street art stuff into like the same portfolio
Yeah.
that I have for graphic design. So it's, you know, like for instance, I can brand an entire like music festival,
Yeah.
and then also be able to paint at the music festival as a performing artist, which is amazing to me. That's like,
well, and it's
the
a
sickest thing.
it's a blessing that one, especially like we've talked, you know, you worked for an ad agency out here, an ad agency, marketing agency,
ad agency,
an ad agency, where you kind of like we're doing the grind, the 9 to 5.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. So in that world, that's your life.
Yeah.
You work for these global brands, and when you're on a project, that's what you do, and you work until 3 a.m. You work until the deadline is up, and that's it. So yeah, when I got there, I was exposed to not only all these like amazing people, but you know, was put into this system where everything is cutthroat and super on point. And I was also exposed to, you know, the best videographers and editors and just anybody creative in that world, all right there. So right then I knew, like, okay, I've got all the resources at my fingertips. Like I've got to pull the trigger and do this now. So once I realized that, I was like, okay, I'm going to put this first, but any free time I have, I'm going to be here, you know, late night working on Kidwiseman.
The marketing and the ad kind of realm is like you said, super cutthroat. You know, you work a lot. Is there a point in being there that you kind of like reevaluate your lifestyle?
Absolutely. It juices you, and that's just the world that it is. They take creatives and they juice them for everything they have. They plug them in, they move the Starbucks logo around, and then they unplug you when they think people want to see it, you know? And so that's actually one of the biggest reasons I got out of that is because I didn't feel like the work that I was doing and the time that I was putting in to my projects was creating a significant impact, especially in the community. And you know, you work on these ad campaigns, you know, there's people working on like fast food stuff, and they're looking at a hamburger for, you know, 6 hours a day, and it's like, man, like this isn't helping anything.
It's just making corporations a lot more money.
And you're essentially you're living someone else's dream who owns that company or that agency or whatever. I mean, if that's what you want to do, you want to be a creative director at an agency, that's fine. You bounce around and move up, and that's fine. And there's a lot of people that's what they want to do, but to me it was like, I want to work for myself and create impact on something that I've experienced myself.
What's the anxiety level like, and the stress level leaving a job like that? Because we know, like in ads and stuff, you make good money, and then you all of a sudden you understand like that this isn't the lifestyle you're looking for or the impact on the world that you're trying to do, and you walk away from it and you chase the dream. This is the moment that most people don't take that step. You know what I mean? And the game-changing mentality is to take the step. And I wish more people would take it because it betters them and it betters society. But most people don't. But talk to me about that, you know?
Yeah, so that's definitely like a huge leap. And for a while, I was able to kind of do them both at the same time. But then it came to the point where I was like, I've got so many Kidwiseman projects coming in. I'm like taking lunch breaks, going to meetings, doing this stuff, and it's just like I can't do both. And to me, it was almost like it was something I had to do. It's almost a responsibility to me because I feel like now that I'm doing these projects, I have a responsibility to the community and to myself to push this through and make sure that it goes the way that I want it to. But it's also it's definitely like a risky thing to do, but it's something that I feel like I had to do.
The Kidwiseman projects that I've kind of like talked to you about and seen, you know, like you have, you know, almost two aspects of it. You have the art aspect of like, you know, I've seen you, like you've worked with like some amazing talented musicians. The murals and the paintings and the street art that I see you is phenomenal. And then you have the education side, which is you know, a huge gift and giving back to, you know, the world and society. First of all, let's talk about the fact that you've worked with people like Zed. You know, you've gone and like you paint during his set and whatnot. Talking about like that and kind of like that opening doors for what you want to do.
Right. So one aspect of Kidwiseman is actually like creating a voice and you know, having this presence within the music industry, and it's super important because having a voice and being able to like speak to people and them understanding the importance of you know, what I'm doing while they're having a good time is great. So while
so like you're out at a festival and you're like painting during his set?
Yeah, so I'm like a performing artist, but it's also an interactive piece. So like I've got, it's not just, oh, there's a guy painting on the ground like a canvas. It's like, here's this character, he's got a suit on, it's got LEDs on it, there's so lights. Dope. I've got a program light, like fog machine, like everything, and then people can actually come up and help paint.
Wait, so you're at a festival and you can just come up and like be involved in painting like one of your murals?
Yeah, so we have like a structure where people will gather around and, you know, like it's like a part of the experience, and based on how fucked up they are.
I was going to say, because there are some people at festivals that should not be painting anything.
There's definitely been some times where people are like, and
start spray painting each other and shit.
Like, that's enough. Yeah. Thank you. but yeah, but they definitely can get involved, and that's when they realize like, oh, this is something that I can do. Yeah. This is an opportunity for me to like see that, and I'm having a good time.
How did that opportunity come about? Because I feel like it's not something that we normally have seen like throughout. Like I personally really, until I maybe had met you or maybe just recently had seen like some things like that. How did that opportunity come about? Was it something you came up with, or was it something that they like approached you on?
So this is actually something that ties into where you're asking about, you know, whether it's the graphic design side or the street art side, and this is kind of how like they tie together. Initially, the guy who owned this music festival reached out and just wanted me to paint on their grounds during the festival in Cleveland, and I met up with them and we started talking about it, and they hadn't set the whole lineup. And I was like, well, who's going on stage? Yeah. Do you have this set up? And he's like, well, we don't really have all that ready yet, but we've got this, you know, like this art section. And I'm like, I don't want to be in the art section. Like, put me up like on a platform so that I can do a street art performance.
Dope.
So that people can see that. And then the great thing about that was that he was down with that. Yeah. We figured out a budget for that, and then they hired me to actually create all the digital design, all the creation for the festival itself. So everything from like, you know, the magazines that went out, the flyers, the posters, the massive banners, huge things like that. So it was pretty sweet to be walking around Cleveland, see all the all my creations around there, all the ads, and then actually be able to perform as an artist at the festival.
So like you're so like multi-talented when it comes within the creative space. Like, is that something that you would say for like young kids to like learn it all? You know what I mean?
I think it's definitely important to find a lane and stick to it. Yeah. But I also think, you know, like you should try what you want. Try what's fun to you, and don't limit yourself. Like maybe as a career, a lot of people would say like just do one thing and do it the best. But like to live a life that you want to live, if you want to go do several different things, if you want to do backflips and paint, why not?
Why not? It's entertainment value. Yeah. So what kind of has been like the high point when it comes to like these festivals and like working with artists and stuff like that? What was the moment that like, or was there a moment even that you kind of like realized like, yo, shit, this is gonna work, you know, like this is actually working for me out there, and people are really being drawn to like your style of creativeness?
I think when I really realized it was just how quickly the reactions that we got from people, like it's just been incredible. Yeah. You know, I've been doing this it'll be 3 years here in a couple of days. Yeah. And we've worked across 7 school districts, like 8,000 kids, and I think that that's really the biggest thing, is that people see that it's actually inspiring students who wouldn't necessarily have the means or the access to these kind of tools. So what I do is paint walls all over and get students involved in every aspect of a full-scale production. So I get them using cameras, learning how to do light design, using drones, of course, using spray paint, you know, filming it, becoming part of the full production, actually seeing like behind the scenes, like what goes into these, like essentially kind of like a music video, what goes into something like that. And that's when the spark, and there's always a handful of students that are just so down.
Well,
and so we're kind of like building an army of people.
That's the story part and the aspect of this that really like triggered my interest, was the interaction with students and kids that have had the same kind of like shelteredness from these career paths and opportunities. And like that's what's so amazing, is like you're using your talents to go and like educate kids. Where does that mindset like come into this whole journey? Like, when did you really go like, okay, I'm going to go into schools and I'm going to inspire youth to be more open-minded and the opportunities and the options that are there to them? Because most people, and it's a flaw in society, don't think about like leaving behind stuff. They don't think about leaving behind a legacy. But you're out there trying to leave behind a legacy and trying to improve other kids' lives. Where does that mentality come from for you?
Well, it's a brand. So it's, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Yeah. And so if they see what I do and they can relate to what I've been through, just like just like they have been through a lot, like every kid is going through something. Yeah. If they can relate to that person talking to them, and it's not a teacher saying like, oh, we got this company coming in, you better like pay attention and all this. It's like, I'm coming in, I don't care what the teachers or the principals think about this. I mean, this is really for the kids. Like, it's straight up, they know I'm talking to them. I show them what I do. They understand that, and then they're down to help. Yeah. So with
the kids that you're involved with, like, what are the reactions? Like, what are their like honest reactions to like what you're doing? And
well, at first it was like, okay, we don't know who this guy is. Yeah. What is this? Okay, cool. We're down to paint. Like, it's, I don't have to be. I don't have to be in
classroom. Fuck, I'd be down to do anything besides being in classroom at that age.
But then once I meet them and prep with them and like start interacting with them on a personal level, then they realize that I'm for real, and I don't. And it's like really about like helping them and figuring out like what part of this production they would like to be a part of. Like if you're not super into spray painting, but you're a DJ, like let's hook up a fucking DJ booth and have you run the sound for this thing, Yeah. So, and they respect that. So now that, we're getting to a point where like I'm a little more well known coming into the situation, it's like, oh, dope. Like this guy's worked with like, Logic or whoever. Yeah. And we've got that respect already, so that they understand and they're willing to, kind of explore themselves a little bit more and kind of push themselves creatively, which they wouldn't necessarily be able to do because their classes suck.
Why aren't there more people in the education system that think like you?
Because the whole education system is totally screwed.
In what way?
It's all politics, and when it comes down to it, it's all about how much the teachers are getting paid, and it's not really about the students. And I believe, our public school system is so screwed. It's almost like they are preparing these kids for prison, not for college.
Wow, that's big. That's the system that is supposed to grow our society. And, there's obviously way more kids in public school than there are in private schools. How is it still, like, how are we so blind to, the ways of, like, obviously, if we don't value the education system, where are we going to go, like, moving forward?
Well, the education system's under attack.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't realize that, you should, because art funding is getting cut.
Yeah.
And if you eliminate that, then that's terrible. We're screwed.
Yeah.
You know? You take that out completely, and what do these kids have? They have nothing to go to, you know?
Mm-hmm.
There's, you know, these students that are in public school, if you're a guy, it's like, oh, well, I hope that I can get like a football scholarship.
Yeah.
It's like, but there's nobody out here creating or recruiting the creative kid, you know?
Yeah.
There's NFL and colleges coming to high schools looking at students, but there's nobody looking at the creative high school kid because they don't even have the access to tools.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's not an option.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like sad to think, because especially in like our day and age, like I feel like the creative jobs are honestly a lot like where a lot of the money is.
Yeah.
You know, there's
more and more jobs coming up.
And yet we're not putting the importance in the education system of that.
Yeah.
So where do you see Kidwiseman kind of going moving forward? Because like we've talked many a time about this, and like only now have I really like honestly seen like the potential of like what you could do with this.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much that can happen, but you know, essentially I want the brand Kidwiseman to be the largest public voice fighting for creative rights, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of leading this fight that we're in
Mm-hmm.
to not only just inspire students, but also be like a public service announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're fucking up.
Yeah.
Like, we've got to fix this, and we're going to fight the problem. And whether you like it or not, we're coming for you. And that's basically kind of like how we're going to go.
Yeah.
And the more and more projects we do, the bigger of an army we're building.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be able to, you know, create that impact.
Yeah.
And create more jobs for these kids that wouldn't ever have the opportunity otherwise. So,
I came out to one of your projects. You were working side by side with Red Bull, which was amazing. You know, I love the Red Bull company, and you know how they work, and you know how they push the limits. How was that working with them and having them kind of alongside to like really support your movement?
It was great to work with Red Bull because I had a direction I wanted to take this that was a little more edgier than what most people and most companies are willing to do. Up until that point, most of the videos that weren't like narrative videos, that were more documentary style, were it's kind of like just explaining the issue and showing that, you know, okay, there's this guy who's working with students and he's painting great. He's like creating opportunity. That's awesome. But with Red Bull, we're able to kind of take this in a different approach that's from the student's perspective. Like, hey, we're under attack. Like, we're fighting back. Like, join us and fight this issue. And kind of take it as like an offensive approach. Yeah, so it was really great to be able to work with them because we had a great crew of students, and we had a great production. And I think that, you know, that being able to push that out is going to really help raise awareness in a cool way that people will understand and can relate to.
You have, you know, like, you know, so many different networks and, you know, people that you'll work with. Who's like your tight crew? Because you kind of have to have people around you that, one, support like your vision and what you're doing, and two, are like, you know, ride or dies. Like, who do you turn to for your advice, and who do you work with on a daily basis that is really pushing you to, you know, brand Kidwiseman the way it is? Right.
So every project's different, and so I have a different kind of a crew every time, but there are a couple people that are essential that stay all the time, and that one is my buddy Colin, who, when I first started working at 72 and Sunny, I was like coming home late, and he's like, yo, what are you doing? And I'm like, yo, I'm working on this like side project. And I showed him, he just immediately was on board, like, oh, I'm down with that. And so he is kind of like a day-to-day manager, like helps me produce, like does a lot of anything like on the side, like, you know, a lot of my management stuff to make sure that things roll smoothly when I'm helping students paint. So he's there all the time. I work with my buddy Ryan, who's like a lighting designer. He's done work all over the world.
Yeah.
Halsey, GEZ, Logic. So every time we do a piece, we try to have some sort of lighting aspect because it brings more of this entertainment vibe to it.
It also you know exposes the fact that like there is careers in that industry.
Yeah, exactly. It's multimedia street art.
Yeah.
And this is not just a mural. It's not just paint. There's so much that goes into it. There's, you know, exactly what you're saying. So, and then I always have a videographer, and lately it's been my buddy Matt.
Yeah.
Who, you know, flies drones, has his own setup. But depending on the budget, you know, we'll have like several videographers, a photographer, like, so, you know, we have like a pretty tight-knit group, and it's taken me this long, 3 years, to kind of acquire the essential people for each project. Like, for instance, if we do another music festival, I know for sure I'm taking my boy Matt, because he's down, and you know, we're just all on the same wavelength. And then I've been recently working with, you know, Manny worked with me on that project. He was nice enough to lend his dope van, and I stood on top of that thing.
Dope. Yeah,
so I was squeezing, trying to work through that budget, and I was like, do I have to buy this lift for this thing?
Said, hell no, man. You drive your van in here, I'll stand on and paint from top of your van. And I almost fell off that fucking thing, like, but it was totally worth it. And yeah, just like, it's lately just the people that really understand this tend to be really great people themselves, and really want to help the cause and are down to support it and come out every time. So it's been great to kind of build that community around this. What's the feeling like, kind of getting to wake up every day and you know, one, not really work for the man per se, but just kind of like get to do your, you know, your dreams? Because, you know, that's the reason we're all out here trying to do this, and that's the reason behind Game Changers, to get people to chase their dreams. Yeah,
it's incredible. And you know, I just feel so fortunate that I've been able to actually pinpoint this as a career, and it's actually worked. You know, I knew this was like a huge risk, you know, like, this is essentially something that really hasn't been done as far as the approach goes, as the brand, and it's something I was obviously like had to think a lot about, like, and now that I'm doing that every day, and that's my job, it's great, because every project's different, so I'm always excited to be able to create whatever it is, whether it's, you know, like a narrative script for a video we're gonna do, or if it's like the branding for like a music festival and how I'm gonna tie in like, you know, like a painting to that, or what's the costume design gonna look like for this, and being able to work with, and that's somebody else I should mention, is this costume designer, Devin, hit me up out of the blue, and she at the time worked for the Tonight Show as a intern, and was just like, hey, how can I help? And I had that music festival in like 2 weeks, and she like whipped up a costume for me that has like, it's a suit that turns on,
the same LED one that lights. I saw it.
And I just thought that was so fucking cool that she just like knocked that out so
that's
quick.
what you know, it takes those people out there that, you know, one, see the vision of what you're doing, but two, the people that are out there ready to work, you know.
Exactly.
I say that to interns and people all the time. You got to be ready to work. You got to find the position, you know. People ain't gonna come up to you and be like, hey, I've got an opportunity for you. It's like, no, go out there, grab it by its balls, and say, what do you need me to do, and just do it.
And you got to be ready to grind and really crush it in whatever you're doing. And I think, you know, soon we will like expand and kind of like grow this team. Right now it's you know, just like a handful of people, but the bigger and bigger these projects get, the more people we're going to need. And, you know, like, I would love to hire some kids out of high school, or even out of college, like, or even try to help kids in high school get scholarships to a dope art school, or whatever they want to do for music, or, you know, that's something I see on the horizon as well, like maybe like a Kidwiseman scholarship or something like that. You know,
something that kind of triggered my interest as well in you, and I actually just spoke about it in the last Game Changes with DJ Sour Milk, is like, most people that I've spoken to within the creative side, you know, they don't have as in depth like a family side, you know, like your father, DJ Sour Milk, he has 2 kids, and I really was, you know, I love talking about the fact that there is a way to kind of do both and balance both as well, because as a kid at 16, 17, 18, you look at the people that are usually successful, and they have usually given up that side.
Mm-hmm.
They've usually kind of gone, all it is work. Work, work, work. I may not have someone by my side, or I may do, but I can't really do both. You know, but I believe that there's a point in the fact that having kids and having that side drives you even more.
Totally.
You know, like how does having kids, and I'm sure it's impacted, you know, your decisions of wanting to educate. How has that impacted like your story?
Right. Well, it's actually quite the opposite for me as far as, you know, I knew that I wanted to do this, but then when I found out that I was going to be a father, it was like, oh, it's ride or die. I got to do this now. Yeah. And, you know, it wasn't just that I was working at that agency. Yeah. It was like, I'm going to be daddy time super quick. Like I gotta go. And that, my daughter, Isla, she motivated me to really like push it to like as hard as I possibly could every second I could outside of, you know, helping with her or work, you know. And so even though I think it's definitely something like being a parent is definitely something that can slow a lot of people down. I think being a parent or even having a girlfriend can slow a lot of people down. But if you use it the right way and if you understand it the right way, it's a tool that can motivate you even more. How did you learn that is the right way? Because that's not, honestly, that's not taught to us. I felt like I didn't have a choice. I was like, I'm either gonna just like be a dad and just stick with this 9-to-5 kind of gig and that's it, or I can like really follow my dream and do it right now. And I think it was very difficult because many different reasons, but like actually knowing that I had to work late and thinking that okay, there's definitely been other people that have been in tougher situations. That was something that always motivated me. It was just like, even no matter how hard it got, I was like, okay, there's somebody that's been through something like more difficult. So fuck Netflix, let's cancel this account. I'm not coming home. I'm not gonna slouch around. I gotta like grind, you know. And that's really what it is. It's eliminating. It's being able to take one part of your life. It's just buying the time and finding the time. It's eliminating going out to the bars with all their friends every time that somebody asks you. It's cutting out that completely, cutting out like a Netflix and using that time to work where you would otherwise be going and doing those things or wasting time watching. That's huge. Like that, you know, like it's such a great lesson to learn, because everyone runs around saying, I'm so busy, I have no time to do anything. And you're right, you know, like we sometimes don't partition our time in a way that benefits us efficiently, you know. And I don't know where that should be taught. Like I don't know where we really learn that, or can, you know, put that on other people, because everyone uses, you know, Netflix. Everyone uses like these things to escape from their lives. You know what I mean? Like we're taught to use those as an escape, but they can then negatively impact our lives. Yeah, it's like, why are we gonna make or watch a movie when we can make one? You know? Yeah, I love that. And that needs to be the quote, like on something. Don't watch a movie, make a movie. Yeah, and that's so many people who get in relationships like, hey, let's watch a movie. It's like, well, let's fucking write a script. And let's make it happen. You know, or you know, whatever it is. But it's totally in line with what you're saying. It's just like there's so many things that are distractions that are okay and that everybody does. I mean, I get sick talking to people. It's like almost always a conversation a lot of times these days will end up being about like, oh, did you see this movie? Did you see this? Or what Netflix series have you watched from season 1 to season 7 in 2 weeks? It sucks because that's what most people can relate to and most people have in common, which is terrible. Well, but I also believe that most people use that to escape their 9 to 5. You know what I mean? Like all they do is go to work and they like not that happy, and that's their like, oh, don't have to think about work time. Whereas like, and this is what I try to push. It's like when you get to do what you love and enjoy, you don't have to escape. Yeah, but it's, you know, you got it. It's like I feel like you either have it or you don't. And you either have the ambition to actually take the risk and go through the shitty part of not making money doing your side hustle, and just doing it because you're passionate and believing in yourself, or you just
you
fall into whatever you want to do. That's easy.
What does 2018 have for Kidwiseman?
Right. So I got a lot of cool projects coming up. I definitely think there's going to be more walls, but I'm really focusing on diving deeper into the music industry. I think some international things are on the horizon.
Awesome.
Possibly on the water.
Sick.
So I'm excited to see what happens. I'm already really pumped, and we've got some great things rolling through. So
love it.
It's gonna be a great year.
That's fire, man. No, the reason that you touched on all the reasons that I wanted you to come through here, and you always have my support. Game Changers supports anyone that's out there doing stuff that is really pushing the culture and giving back to kids. You know what I mean? Because that's the future, and that's what we're trying to do. But Kidwiseman, Evan, thank you.
Thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure being on your show, and
of course,
I love what you're doing here. So
anytime, brother.
Appreciate it, brother.
Easy.